Joined by Chris Ojekere. Chris is an activist and political affairs analyst. Good evening to you, Chris, and thanks for joining me on Political Lens.
Yeah, good evening, Chukuma. Thanks for having me here.
Good to have you. I appreciate your presence.
Thank you.
Good. Now, let's run into it. Kenneth Eze, the senator representing Ebonyi Central under the APC, has proposed replacing Nigeria's current two-term, four-year presidential cycle with a single 16-year term. Now, that's serious. Speaking at his Ohibo Amago country home in Eza South local government area of Ebonyi State, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Information and National Orientation argued that the existing structure disrupts effective governance and long-term planning. He criticized the four-year cycle for encouraging constant political campaigning at the expense of development. Every 4 years, we return to campaign mode. That's according to the senator. By the third year, governance slows as attention shifts to re-election. That is why projects are abandoned and policies are not allowed to mature, as they said, adding that a longer single tenure will give administrations time to fully implement their programs and stabilize the system. Well, as I acknowledge that his proposal sounds controversial, I'm happy that he acknowledged that, but maintain it should be seen as part of a broader governance discussion rather than an attack on democracy. He called for national dialogue on constitutional reform to examine whether an extended tenure could improve policy continuity while still preserving democratic checks and balances. Well, let me start with you. Very controversial. Now, many Nigerians, including former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, have been rooting for, asking for single 6-year term. You know, but this AP senator is asking for 16 years single term. Does this make sense to you? You're already laughing, you are giggling.
I can't even imagine somebody saying that there should be a 16-year single term for politically exposed person, either at the state or federal level. So perhaps you wonder, maybe he has some level of lineage with Cameroon,
okay,
where there is a sit-tight president that has spent over 45 years as president. Now, this at 16-year single tenure, what we are saying is, if that president in a country that is polarized, if that president, imagine a sitting president that is supposed to spend 16 years. So, where you don't have clear-cut processes that could lead to impeachment, that could lead to removal, so you have to wait 16 long years for you to change bad government.
Okay.
That's one. Then two, by the time you are 16, and look at the average age of contestants in today's election, by my own judgment, I think P2B is just about, is about the youngest at 66. Add 16 years to 66.
65.
Let's assume it's not up to 66 yet, but it's 65. Let us assume that it's 65. Add 16 years to 65.
Okay.
We are talking of 81 years before he leaves office. That's 81.
Yeah, that's 81.
That's 81. Look at Atiku, that is notching 76 or 78.
Okay.
Add 16 years to that. Then it would have surpassed Paul Biya.
And assuming our current president becomes a beneficiary,
of this.
He's already done 4 years. And if the law is not retroactive,
then he has to spend another 16 years.
16 plus.
So add 16 years to his age.
Now.
Add 16 years to his age. That means he will be close to 100 before he leaves office. So it doesn't really make any sense. Whatever ramification.
Is that a way, to cut out a set? Because last week, Jonathan was saying, we need to peg the age limit for African presidents at 50. Is that a way to bring it back to Nigeria or to make Nigeria a talk-off point? I mean, we don't know this proposal. He's just made a proposal. We don't know the ingredients of that.
If you are talking about pegging the age of anybody contesting for the post of president at 50, the optics are not right for even the youth. We have seen young people messing up with offices that you don't find any difference between the young and the old. Look at the likes of Yaya Bello. But Yaya Bello was barely in his early 40s, when he became a governor of Kogi State. What did he do?
Ojo was 39 when he became
was 39,
state governor.
You know,
in 1999.
I think Donald Duke was less than 40
yes, he was.
when he became a governor. You know, a host of them like that. What difference have they made? And besides, at that age, you are likely to be exposed to some frivolities of life. That could be a major distraction. That is not to say that some elderly ones are not also exposed to frivolities of life.
So clearly you are against the 16-year single term.
I personally detest it.
Okay, you personally detest it.
Yes.
Now, we'll come back to it because there's a lot to talk about. So many talking points in this issue. Now, let's run to Chris Ojekere. Chris, I'd like to, I'm happy that you have followed this conversation. What's your reaction to the 16-year single term? Does it make sense to you, or how do you take it in? How did it hit you when you got this news, this piece of news?
Suggested something. And, you know, I want to take his suggestion at face value. He said this calls for a broader governance discussion, you know, for our Nigerian state and system. So I'll take that first before I take what I think it's my own, you know, ideas and opinion with respect to that. Now, let us assume, without conceding that Senator Eze is sanguine in his political outlook. Now, he gave some reasons why he's suggesting 16-year single tenure. He said for policy stabilization and stabilization of the system and policy execution and so on and so forth. Now, if you take that at face value, it means that Senator Eze thinks that governance is invested in an individual and not on the institution. So he does not understand that the governor or the president, whoever is sitting there at the saddle, is executing policies that are supposed to be policies of the political party he belongs. And that when you have a system, it is the system that should be working, not an individual's longevity of life. So he's thinking that the longer you stay in power, the better you'll be able to perform, as if it is the individual that performs rather than the system and institutions. So to take his suggestions on a broader level, we need to make people understand that we have to be bringing up and throwing up ideas that we build our institutions. Donald Trump has been there for less than 1 year. And I don't want to begin to act here as his advocate, but he has, just to put it in one sentence, turned America around almost 360 degrees, if you know what America was just a year ago. So what we should be advocating is that systems should be put in place to strengthen our system and institutional and political system so that a governor or a president is executing policies of his political. And then that will be enough. 4 years, therefore, will be enough for him to have done what he should do. And then if he has done well, he's returned in another 4 years. So he has an 8-year, 2-term tenure. That is long enough for anybody to make an impact. If you can't make impact in 8 years, then we should look at the system and you as an individual. So that's on that part. Now, second, if you look at it politically, how are we sure that Eze is not advocating for Tinubu to remain perpetually in power, as he has been suspected by other political parties as planning to do? I mean, bringing such conversation at this time, he's not giving us report card of what his party has done in the past 3 years. Now, is he giving us an excuse for their failures and want Nigeria to reward their failures by extending the tenure so that President Tinubu can continue as a life president? Because as you have done your mathematics there, if you add 16 years to what Tinubu is now, he's likely to continue as a life president. You know, if he's going to, if it flies for him, it is an irrelevant discussion at a time when his party should be talking about what they have done for Nigeria and how they deserve another tenure. He is talking of 16 years. So you can see that the thinking of these people does not work with how systems and political parties and nations should work. At 3 years in office, a party chieftain is suggesting longevity of position rather than giving us report card of what they have done. So I think it's absolutely out of the a misaligned way of thinking, and it does not fit.
All right. Chris, let me stay with you. the senator is not the first person to have said this. People on the other side of the divide, Atiku Abubakar has been saying, let's do single 6-year term. And some people have also made proposals for 8-year term. Now, let's examine the downsides of the 2 terms of 4 years each, because a lot of people seem to be very uncomfortable with that. First term, to prepare for second term, like this administration, the moment they got into office, they started planning for their second term, and it's been politics all through up until this moment that we have about less than 2 years, left for another second term. And so you use first term to prepare for second term and use another 4 years to prepare for a successor. Shouldn't we discard this system of 4-year term and now go back to a single term, whether it is 6 years, whether it is 8 years or 10 years or 16 years, as proposed by this administration, looking at the downsides of the 2 terms of 4 years each? What's your reaction to that?
So this is my point earlier. If there is a downside to it, there's a downside to it because we don't have institution and system that continue where an individual stops. We also don't have institution and system that holds public office holder to accountability of governance. The argument from those people and from him is that we should legitimize this irresponsibility in government, where a government comes, flounders after 2 years, and then starts to prepare for election. Flounders in the first year, start to prepare for election in the second year. These are all defective systems that cannot be repaired by tenure allegation, but by addressing the issue why a government cannot have 4 years to make enough mark. And now I'm forced to quickly go back to Donald Trump. Before Donald Trump came into power, groceries had hit the roof in America. Energy cost was unbearable. Immigration had fallen down. America was poor. Their tariff was down. They became consumers of manufactured goods from European nations, from China, and so on and so forth. All of these were there at the highest level simultaneously. Now in America, immigration for seven months, they did not record one illegal immigrant entering America. Gasoline has come down to its barest minimum. Taxation have been reduced. So in fact, they are considering now whether they should eliminate taxation completely from working class. Medicare has come down, and now groceries price have come down. All in 1 year, and you could go on like that. A president is really not what he achieved because he put together a team, and then the system was an enabler that helped him achieve this. We should be thinking of things like that. How to build it.
All right, Chris. Why I don't want us to dwell on United States. In all of this that you have read out, are you aware that Trump's popularity is dipping in the United States of America? Do you have any quick explanation for that?
Is deepening?
Yes.
Did you say it's deepening?
Yes, his popularity.
No, there are many narratives coming out from America. If you are listening to the narrative coming out from the Democrats and from CNN and the large pharmaceutical company and so on and so forth, they will tell you that. But I tell you, Trump's popularity is getting to the point where
it's all about politics. It's all about politics.
Yes.
Now, let's come back to Nigeria. We have Rotimi Amechi said, I'm going to do a single term of 4 years. And Peter Obi has echoed the same thing. Is it possible? How much can someone achieve in just 4 years?
What they can achieve is that if you have the will, the political will, if you are committed and passionate, your presidential order and your presidential pronouncement is the greatest power on earth next to the Bible sermons of pastors. The president is the executive president and commander of the armed forces. Awolowo was begging to be given just 1 hour to address the nation, and he'll be turning things around. If you have the will and you have the vision, you know what the problem is. In 4 years, you make so much mark. Those guys saying they want to do 4 years, they know what they mean. They know that after 4 years, they'll make so much money that you would have to beg them to return in another 4 years. It is that they come there without any political will, any interest, they don't have the vision of what the country should be going. They don't have an understanding of the problem. They're just there for 1 or 2 white elephant projects. They move into how to preserve themselves in power. And now we are saying that we should even increase the years of seeking for self-preservation and floundering. The truth of the matter is that any president within 1 year can set a tone. And we did that to Yar'Adua. How long did Yar'Adua live? We can still read out to you the reforms Yar'Adua made. Yar'Adua allowed for free and fair election. In fact, Yar'Adua set in process an electoral reform headed by Wales, which is still considered to be one of the best reports on electoral reforms that we are refusing to implement. Yar'Adua faced the civil service and started to restructure the civil service. Yar'Adua brought amnesty to Niger Delta that was going to implode as a result of the activities of militants. The president brought amnesty to Niger Delta. So look at all the things Yar'Adua achieved. Went into pension reforms and so on and so forth. So if you have a will as the president and you know what the problems are, you hit the ground running. Are you going? Is it marathon race? When we're saying that Tinubu was frail before he was appointed, he says he's not applying for a bricklaying job. All he needs to do is to come up with sharp policies and then sanction those who will not implement. So the truth of the matter is that 4 years is enough to set the tone, and the people will beg you to do another 4 years. You would have left your mark, and your party can continue from there. How long did Fashola rule? How many tenures did Fashola have in Lagos, and how long was it? Is it not the same time? I know the revolution. Where Peter.
Okay, so we can't get his audio feed anymore, and I think there's a network glitch, and we are discussing internet connectivity, electronic transmission of results, real time, and all of that. Well, let's return to the studio where I have physically Dele Fanimo here with me. Now, Dele, I'd like for us to expand this discussion. Shouldn't we, both of my guests here are of the opinion, well, that 16-year single term is out of it. Now, shouldn't we be talking about reversing to parliamentary system of government? When the party in majority forms the government and you have parliamentarians become ministers, to reduce the cost of governance. You have somebody that represents probably Ondo Central, where you come from, if I'm correct. I hope I'm correct on that. Ondo Central become the minister for works or the secretary for works. You have somebody from Abia North, where I come from, become the secretary for health or any petroleum or whatever, and collapse the cost of government, because it looks like this presidential system of government, it looks like it's too cumbersome for us. Shouldn't we go back to where we are coming from? In the First Republic, where we had a parliamentary system of government and all of that worked for us within the first 6 years of independence. Shouldn't we be thinking about reversing to that mode of governance?
You see, presidential form of government is too bogus and quite expensive. Yes, you might want to say that it's flamboyant, but at this time in our history, I don't think we can accommodate this humongous expenditure on governance. For instance, like you rightly said, there was parliamentary system of government up until the first coup in 1966. As at that time, there was robust opposition even within the parliament. You have the minority leader, you have the majority leader, and you also have cases where there was a kind of government of national unity operating within the system. Besides, the prime minister is just first among equals. All of them would have been elected to the parliament before the prime minister is taken to lead based on the majority stake of a particular political party. And then it won't be the bicameral legislature that we have today. It will be unicameral. And look at the level of wastage. You have parliamentarians that most of the time they just go there to sleep. It is even nails and eyes that wake some of them up. And without even following the trend of discussion, they will just jump into the fray and begin to say nails.
More like defensive listening. They already have something in mind.
You understand? But in a situation whereby the man who is a parliamentarian is also saddled with the responsibility of overseeing a particular sector of the economy. Of course, he knows that he has come to that house, that legislative arm of government, to work. Because the legislative part of the responsibility is not as much as the auxiliary job of being an executive member, because he is a parliamentarian and is also working as Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs. Is probably working Secretary of Police Affairs. So he has dual role to play. And you don't need more than maybe 3 per state. And that comes to Abuja, maybe 2. That comes to 101 legislators overall. And then you see that the funding will reduce drastically, and there will be efficiency, because all eyes will be on you, that you must succeed, you must perform. But here, particularly the Senate has turned to rest house for past governors, and so what do they do there? They just don't go there, sit down.
Okay, so basically you are for a reversal to parliamentary system of government. Now, if you reverse to parliamentary system of government, and probably a government stays in office for like 12, 16 years, will you have a problem with that?
I won't have a problem.
Okay.
Because that will be dependent on the performance of that political party that has majority in the House.
Okay.
Then...
but elections will be conducted intermittently?
Of course. The elections will be
So will you still go for the 4-year elections every 4 years, or maybe midterm elections?
There could be midterm election, to do an appraisal of what the majority that forms the government in the House would have done in 2 years, and then if they are not measuring up, then they have to go. But here, then before you go into parliamentary system of government, you also have to get some of the clauses and provisions of the Constitution amended to support the new government. For instance, there are some items listed on the exclusive list. You have to collapse that and let them have concurrent backing, to the extent that states and regions would form clusters, and then you now have competitive roles to play, to the extent that if you are from South-South, you know that if the resources of South-South is with the South-South, nobody will come here, go there and say he wants to plunge the resources. You know that your success, your fortune depends on that particular resource domiciled in your constituency. If it is the Northwest, you know that the bauxite, the gold is domiciled in the Northwest, and it's for the good of the Northwesterner. Then you make the center maybe a little bit ceremonial.
Okay. All right, we'll come back to you. Let's run back to Benin City, where we lost connectivity with Chris Ojekere because of network fluctuation, but we've been able to re-establish contact with him. Chris, thanks for having you. Thanks for rejoining the show. I'd like for you to quickly land on your thoughts so that I'll get into my second question. Dela and I, we are having a conversation here about reversing to parliamentary system of government, but I would like for you to land on your thought first before I come back to you.
Yeah, so what I was saying, I didn't really know where I went to, but I was saying that if you have the political will and you have the vision, that 4 years is enough for you to set the tone for the generality of the voters to want you back for another 4 years. I was giving an example of Shehu Yaradua, not Shehu, Umar Yaradua, our late president, may so rest in peace, who in a very short time that he stayed there was able to introduce amnesty, which stopped the conflagration that was going on in the Niger Delta, was able to delve into electoral reform. In fact, he even admitted that the process that brought it in was flawed, and then that led to the Waste report, which is one of the best reports we've had in this country on electoral reforms. He was able to go into pension reforms. He was able to go into several other things. The civil service, he went into the reforms. He set up the Rosa Commission that was to examine the civil service, the unwilling nature of our government, and so on and so forth. So if you actually have that political will and you have the vision, you can do 4 years. That it is enough to show your vision. That's the point I was making.
Okay,
so
all right,
I am at the 4-year term. And then if you do well, you are brought back again for another 4 years.
Okay, good. Now, I asked the question here. Is it possible, will you prefer we reverse to parliamentary system of government, the system we operated in the First Republic? And we had a prime minister who was first among equals. He was elected to represent his constituency, but his party formed the majority, and being the leader of the party, he was chosen as the prime minister, appointed by the president or the governor general, as the case may be as at then. Will you prefer we reverse to that system of government, at least to collapse, the huge expenditure we have under the presidential system of government, where you have over 370-something legislators at the national level, and we also still have about 47 ministers? Will you prefer we make a reversal to the parliamentary system of government?
Well, I actually prefer a hybrid of the parliamentary system of government and the system of government we practice now, which is federalism. The problem we have, why this system has become such an albatross on us, is that we are not practicing what people call true federalism. We are a federal state, or we are running a federal constitution, but a unitary system of government. That's where you have the problem. If not, statism or federal system of government is a very workable system that works for everybody. What I stand for is restructuring. Let's divest power from the center. Let's make the state stronger. And then let's make the state more autonomous and independent from central control. In other words, let's practice true federalism. If we practice true federalism, everyone will find its potential. The minority states will be protected, because the parliamentary system of government also have its own problems with minority issues within the region, suffering in the hands of the majority. So we also have that issue there. We had it in the Western region, which led to the formation of the Midwest. And you are also going to have it in the Midwest, if the Midwest were able to come now and form a parliament. So if we have states where you have concentration of, powers in the states, and you have some degree of autonomy, and then we have a federal government that controls a very few sections of the economy, the airways, the currency, the army, the police, and so on and so forth. You are going to have Nigeria working very well. What we have is that we are not practicing true federalism, and that's where we have this problem that we have.
Okay, so apparently you are not for a return to parliamentary system of government.
No, I'm for true federalism.
No, federalism is, federalism, you can, even when we were practicing parliamentary, we were still doing a federal system of government somehow, because the regions were autonomous. In fact, it was at that point that we actually practiced true federalism. And if you go to a place like Germany, where Angela Merkel and Helmut Kohl, both of them ruled for 16 years each, it's parliamentary and at the same time federal. Even in Singapore, Lee spent 31 years in office. Margaret Thatcher in the UK spent, I think she did 11 years, as prime minister. So in all of this, we have a system where you understand what Angela Merkel represents for the German people in terms of growth and development. For 16 years, she was in the saddle and she was able to grow and develop the economy. So why can't we try that form of government? Maybe and just maybe it might work for us. Are you still for not for that? Or what's your final thought on that matter?
When we practiced parliamentary system of government, we had ceremonial head of state. Okay. All the divisions we have in Nigeria today were caused as a result of that parliamentary system of government we practice. We went away. It is either that we divide the state according to regional boundaries, and I'm not advocating secession. It's either that we agree to do that and everyone goes and become a country of its own, or we practice true federalism. Parliamentary system of government that we practice, we had the ceremonial president, and then we had the prime minister. And then that's what led to the war in the south, in the west, the Operation Wet Year. That's what led to the polarization that you have in the country today. By the time we eventually came around to say we are practicing federal system of government, we have already inherited the polarization and all the acrimonies that came from that regime. So it is civilized people that can practice where reason ruled, where critical arguments are allowed in the parliament, and where they carry the day. Not where ethnic sentiments, religious sentiment rule, and then people go to poison the heart of their ethnic, members against, either the government of the day, and then they form alliances, and then they continue to do all of that, and then no progress is being made. It worked for us a while because we just received independence, but how long did this sustain? It broke down. It eventually led to the Civil War. So I believe that states are smaller units to manage, and they are more cohesive to manage. We have the resources. Let the resources be divested. Let the states be given the resources that they should use to run. And then we have a lean center which is, I'm not talking of confederalism. We have, by lean I mean that the federal government should divest much of its responsibilities and take charge of the major one, the army, the currency, the air force, and so on and so forth, just as we have in the US.
Okay,
and let's
all right. Exactly the point. Even in Germany, that is, it's a federal structure. Federal system is different from the system of government, as a matter of fact. But let's move out of that. And there's something you said earlier, and I let it slide. So I would like for us to come back to it. Now, does it look like this kite coming from this senator, unlikely quarters, could be speaking for or acting on behalf of the president? I want us to expand that discussion. What do you think? You said something in that regard. I'd like for you to expand it.
If I'm a politician in Nigeria, then I'll be foolish not to quickly smell. The president wants to, and what about that? He wants a one-party state. And the reason why he wants a one-party state, many have suggested, is because he wants to translate into a life president. The way he rules over the man who is supposed to be presiding over the Senate and presiding over the National Assembly shows that that intention is not far-fetched. So what better thing do you expect that he could do than to get a senator from far away above him to begin to suggest an absurd suggestion, which and then he calls for a national dialogue on it, as if he has given us the distillation of all political wisdom of the ages. So I see this as a kite being flown, and then they try to coincide it with the 2027 election, and then coincide it before the 2027 election, and then if it flies with the rubber stamp National Assembly, Tinubu comes in and does 16 years. We must allow this kind of theories and this kind of thinking so that we will not be caught unawares with all the things that are catching us unawares today that we are getting from this present government. So political parties, I'm talking of the opposition, should be very alert to that statement. What system of reasoning and thought would make somebody to be suggesting that you need 16 years to be... We have to look at it very carefully. In any color one-party state want to come, or like presidents want to come, Nigerians must have to resist it.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Chris. I will come back to you when we get into our second topic of discussion. Now, let's come back to the studio. I would like Dele to make his reactions. One, on the fact that, well, Chris says it's because of the parliamentary system that we went to war in 1966. And again, the idea that, well, somebody could just be trying to fly a kite, so that to test the waters, whether the president is intending, to extend his tenure. I'd like for you to have, quickly on those two issues.
The man may choose to fly a kite, as suggested, but Nigeria is too sophisticated to just allow such thing to pass.
Okay.
We have seen a lot of kite flying in the past, like the third term of President Obasanjo and the rest of them. But there's a way we Nigerians will deal with such situations. So I'm not too uncomfortable with that. Let him come with his own kite and see how Nigerians will react to it.
Okay, so sorry, before you move on, did you at some point in the last 1 year or probably 2 years ago, did you at some point believe that Nigeria could have 30 governors in one political party as at 2023 when we conducted the election?
Yes, you know that we always say that 24 hours is too long a day in politics.
For anything to change.
And the dynamics changed over a period of time.
Okay.
Largely as a result of the unbridled greed and avarice of political leaders across these political lines. When you don't concede certain things, you lose some things in the process.
All right. So a lot of things change.
Yeah,
now that said, don't you think that in the next 18 months that a few other things could also change that will probably make the president want to stay for longer, like 16 years, 8 or more, 12 or more?
I think it's not within the powers of the governors to decide if the president will stay longer than necessary. It still resides...
Mind you that the ruling party has a majority in the National Assembly.
Well, PDP had majority when the ambition of a former president was truncated in the National Assembly. So some of these things are things that shouldn't give us sleepless nights. Because when you get to a point, Nigerians will rally and probably jettison ethnicity, religion, and all that, and feel the nationalistic fervor that will make them say that no, it's not going to happen. And at that moment, the voices of Nigeria will resonate. And all those shenanigans will not really sail through.
Okay, so before we move on to, because we are running out of time, before we move on to our next topic of discussion, I would like for you to talk to, what do you think about Chris saying that, well, parliamentary is not going to work for it, because that's your position, that it's better we go back to parliamentary system of government?
Well, for me, I still hold that belief that parliamentary system of government will work. Okay. You see, whatever happened in between 1964-65, the Operation White here and all that, it's essentially as a result of the deadlock over who should be who. And there were two gladiators at that time. And nobody was ready to give in. And this is what is playing out now, that is killing all these political parties that are in opposition. You have tried your luck several times, every 4 years, since 1992. You have not made headway. For God's sake, why don't you allow somebody else to have a shot? But you still insist. And whatever happened to some of these political parties in the past is also playing out now.
Okay, all right.
And it gives the ruling party an opportunity to have a free rein.
Okay. All right. Now, let's move quickly into our second topic of discussion. Former Kaduna State Governor, former Minister of the FCT, El-Rufai, was detained by the EFCC after hours of questioning over an alleged 432 billion naira corruption scandal. Now, there seems to be an uproar in the north following his detention. Well, the probe stems from a 2024 report by the Kaduna State House of Assembly accusing his administration, which lasted between 2015 and 2023, of misappropriating public loans, violating due process and contract awards, and significantly increasing the state's debt. Well, investigators are also examining claims that he was involved in the alleged surveillance of National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu. An EFCC official said the investigation has been ongoing about a year following recommendations by a State Assembly ad hoc committee that called for the prosecution of El-Rufai and several former cabinet members for abuse of office, contract irregularities, and money laundering. The committee also urged collaboration with the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission. EFCC spokesperson Dele Oyewale confirmed El-Rufai's presence at the agency's headquarters, but declined further details. Now, Dele, let me stay with you. Is this a real security breach or is it a political breach? I mean, is it some form of coincidence that EFCC just had to, start looking for him? He was in Cairo. They went away and dropped an invitation for him. They went to his home and dropped an invitation. Then when he came back, DSS tried to arrest him. He defied arrest, but they took away his passport. And the following day, he went on a national TV station and said what he said that is causing the problem now. And all of a sudden, EFCC is arraigning him, for 432. DSS is slamming cybersecurity, 3-count charge, cybersecurity, surveillance, and all of that. Is it some form of coincidence? Is it actually a security breach, or is it politically motivated? What do you think?
You see, let me say this. I'm not an apostle of why me.
Okay.
I've never been. If you know that you are close to the precipice, you are on the cliffhanger, you should be very, very careful of your step. Now, the 430-something billion allegation has been on since he left office. You remember that there was a time that Kaduna State government wanted to try him, but he went to court, and that was stalled, and EFCC took it up. So all this while, that case had been pending. You also recall that some of his aides, while in government, have been arrested and interrogated. So you should know that it will get to a point that as the chief executive officer of that state at that time, that question will be asked of him, how certain things were done during his tenure. So it is not out of place to invite him to come and explain what happened during his tenure in Kaduna State as the governor. Now, as a fallout of that, he came on national television to spew that inglorious statement.
I'm sorry, Dale, I hate to butt in. He was in faraway Egypt, where he said this administration is planning to
arrest me. Okay. Of course, it has been El-Rufai since 1999. He only lost out of governance about 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago. So he understands the internal workings of government, and he must have probably had somebody within EFCC that's telling him the progress of the case pending. Okay. And he knows that probably that person sounded him off that, look, we have concluded interrogation of some of your aides, and everything is linking you with this malfeasance. So there is likelihood that you will be invited. So he was just playing politics with it, and he was just playing to the gallery to attract sympathy. The truth about it is, if somebody has alleged, it is for you to say it didn't happen.
Now, I understand your position, but some people allege that, well, since he didn't make it to the president's cabinet in 2023, I think that was sometime in September. So when the president wanted to constitute his cabinet, you know what happened. And that he's been working free, you know, with EFCC, you know, neither here nor there. At some point, like what happened to Ganduje, Ganduje went to court and said, well, if I took state money, it's not a federal offense. EFCC should not be involved. You know, the back and forth and all of that. I think El-Rufai also canvassed that argument, and the case was frozen. Now he jumped into the ADC, and all of these things are coming out. So some people are reading, you know, some kind of political angle to all of that. You don't see that?
You see, for me, I keep saying it. If there is anybody today that is giving the current government nightmare, it's P2B.
Okay.
But why have they not picked him? Why is Anambra State under Soludo, who has pledged support for APC government while he's still in APGA, why is he not opening up the books to expose the malfeasance of Peter Obi while he was governor of Anambra State? But why are these other people always saying, why me, why me? If you know you are clean and clear. I recall that when there was a change through court ruling of government in Ekiti State, when Shegun had to leave for Fayemi, after 2 weeks, reporters asked him, are you not going to probe your predecessor? He said, there is nothing there to probe. That even while he was outside of government, he had information about the goings on within the government. And that this man, on the day of that judgment, he already had his monthly security vote in the government house with him. And he instructed, he said, as soon as that pronouncement was made, to return every penny of that security vote to the treasury. So why Shegun has been changing parties, nobody has questioned him in the Ekiti State. So what we are saying is,
why
no
me?
matter,
Like you said,
why me is out of it.
Okay.
If he has allegations against him, let him go to EFCC and sort it out.
We are running out. Let's quickly run to Benin City, where we still have Chris Oje. Chris, what's your reaction to the travels of El-Rufai? You know, since he went into the APC, into the ADC, it's been one problem and the other. What's your reaction to that? Quickly.
Well, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
I can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. If you steal money that belongs to the public, you steal taxpayers' money, you should pay for it. It doesn't matter which party you belong to. If we are going to solve this problem of Nigeria, we must hold accountable people who have held public office. But that, having said that, it's curious that you have people in APC who have also been accused of even worse things than El-Rufai is being accused. That's number one. Number two, as the discussant said there, the matter has been on for all this while. What is it now that the EFCC have decided to act? According to EFCC, they say they are acting now because they've been investigating. We all know that the truth of the matter is that El-Rufai has become a real pain in the neck of the present regime. And so they would use this to ensure that he's silenced or whatever else they want to do to him. The House of Assembly that came up with the investigation are not El-Rufai's bodies. They are not his friends and pals. The whole thing is still allegation. And the court needs to determine whether there is any merit to the things that he's been accused of. Because El-Rufai said it on that same public television, Arise TV, that he has conducted himself in public office with integrity, and that there is no transactions that he carried out that are not well documented, and so on and so forth. So if you want to hang a dog, you can always give the dog a bad name. So until the court proves El-Rufai as being guilty of the things that he's been accused of, the 400 and something billion, we must know that it is not his friends that are presenting those allegations. It is members of the party that consider El-Rufai a threat to their continuation in 2027. So they can't run away from the fact that there's political motivation in this, and that they would have to wait for the court to prove that, rather than giving El-Rufai a media trial of having been guilty. I would think that if El-Rufai has refuge in Egypt and things are heating up at home, and he has got hints from insiders that he was going to be arrested, El-Rufai could stay back at Egypt very comfortably.
And go on exile and ask for asylum.
Yes, you can ask for asylum.
Okay, all right, Chris, let me ask you this question. I mean, I've not had a discussion with you on this since it happened. The back and forth between El-Rufai and Nuhu Ribadu about, phone tapping and all of that. What's your quick reaction to that? Is it something, which one should be more concerning to Nigerians? The fact that El-Rufai said, I listened into your phone conversation, or the fact that some people had a capacity, to break into the phone conversation of our national security advisor? Which one should be more concerning to Nigerians at this time?
For me, the one that should be more concerning is that the people had access to the national security advisor's phone. That should be concerning. But except that one was toned down by that phone conversation revealing that the national security advisor is alleged by El-Rufai to have imported dangerous and destructive substances. And so I'm sure if we go into the phone matter, it might also lead us into probing the dangerous substances, back and forth, as you have said it. So I think that should be opened up to Nigerians. Let us know whether El-Rufai actually have tapped in, and what exactly did he hear? Was it through the tapping in that he heard that dangerous substances that have the lethal potential of destroying lives was imported in? He even said it was imported from Poland. So these are very serious allegations. So for me, the national security advisor is the national security advisor, no pun meant. National security advisor. So if the national security advisor's phone is not safe, and then there are so many things that have been heard in it, and an individual is claiming that, we should bring to the public all of that issue. So that's a very serious matter for me.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Chris Ojekere. I'll take that as a concluding thought. I appreciate your presence on my show, Political Lens. Now, let's come back to the studio. Dele, I'd like for you 30 seconds, a concluding thought, so that we can run away from here.
El-Rufai should go and explain himself and clear himself of any allegation. That's when he can come back to us as clean politician that has held office in the past. Then the 16-year single tenure is not tenable at this time.
All right, then. Thank you very much. I must say a big thank you to you, gentlemen. Dele Fanimo, reporter and political affairs analyst, who joined me in the studio here, and Chris Ojekere, who joined me virtually. Chris is an activist, and he was in the show in the capacity of a public affairs analyst. Gentlemen, I must say a very big thank you to you, both of you, and I hope that we can do this some other time. Now, on behalf of the backroom staff, talking about the technical director, the bus manager, the sound engineer, and the ingest manager, I am Chukwuma Okoro. Up next is Issues with Nnena Ndim Duto. I'll see you again tomorrow, 8 o'clock in the morning on the morning show. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and bye for now.
Ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen.